Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be doing part 2 of our playthrough of the scenario Edgehill from This Accursed Civil War, which is part of the Musket and Pike dual pack from GMT Games, designed by Ben Hull. In the first video, we did turn 1. We have now advanced to turn 2. And the orders remain receive charge for the parliamentary forces. Our royalists, left and center, still have their charge. The right has a make ready because I wanted to remove some formation shaken statuses from some of them. We had one here that actually took a hit from artillery. I still have to flip everything, but I wanted to make, to get ready for turn 2. But I did want to make a correction that I neglected to do in part 1, was these 2 units down here. I didn't move them, and I should have, so I'm going to actually retroactively move them. Now, under the orders of make ready, you can see here there's an order restriction chart. So under make ready, they can move full to, it says here, cannot move adjacent to an enemy unit. So these being light infantry, their movement allowance is 6. Each hex in here costs 2 because they're in the hedge-lined road. They do not take any formation hits because it's light infantry. So they're going to move 1, 2, 3. That would be turn 1, the first turn. 1, 2, 3. And then they can't move adjacent, but that's not actually going to be an issue here because look, 1, 2, 3. They're not adjacent. And then it would be 1, 2, 3. So I wanted to make that correction before actually getting down to playing. So now I'm going to pause here, reset the shot, get everything set up, and then we'll begin turn 2. Okay, we are ready to continue now. So we have, this is the center wing of the Royalists. So we have King Charles here. Astley is up here with one of the brigades. There are 5 brigades of heavy infantry here. We have our 2 large cannons here. So what we're going to do is heavy infantry's movement allowance is 4. Okay, and now we're going to move. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. And now as far as this slope goes, the gentle slope does not have any extra movement cost to it. So they can go up here at 4. Now we could have fire from the parliamentary forces, which are still off shot at the moment. So let's do, well, they may want to wait actually. So let's take this guy and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll take Astley rather. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll send this guy. We have to keep our chain of command intact here. So we'll go 1, 4, 4. The cannons can't move. Now King Charles, we're going to move him up as well. He has a movement allowance of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He'll stop there. Actually, yeah, that's fine. I was thinking about moving them to this side, but we'll go with what we've got here. Let's roll for continuation here. So this is pretty straightforward. So we have a continuation table, right? So we have a charge order. So our continuation roll would be a 0 to 3. Now we do have Astley here who gives a -1. We'll roll on that. So I'll put my die right here. Now I'll roll the blue die for the Royalists. You get a 5. -1 is 4, so that is still too high. So they do not get it, so that they are marked as finished. Now you notice I did not fire my cannon. I probably should have, but I elected, I probably should have moved some units, opened up a hole, and then fired through there. I think they can fire over them, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I do believe they can, though. But for now, we're just going to say they didn't fire. We're going to rely on getting there to the enemy and hitting them with basically close combat and fire from our units as we get close enough to do so. In case you're wondering, the reason I didn't fire these guns was, here's the thinking: the closer you are to the gun, the better chance you have of doing more damage. So trying to play both sides at the same time, the thinking was, well, we're going to push our heavy infantry up from the royalist perspective to close the distance to where they can actually start to engage, right? We're trying, shock combat was still very much the thing in this era, right? We hadn't gotten to the point where it was all about firepower. And from a tactical standpoint, I think one of the things that I a little bit struggle with here is most of my tactical wargaming experience is World War II, where you don't run right at the enemy because you'll get killed. You try to fix them with suppressing fire, and then you flank them, right? And then you close in and you knock them out. That doesn't necessarily equate to what this type of warfare was like, where you had to close and physically bash the opponent. So firepower was just kind of beginning to become a big factor here. So the thinking was, from the parliamentarian perspective, was to let the heavy infantry close and then hit them with the cannon when they're close. You also have possible grazing fire from that as well. So that's why I was going to wait, and if they had gotten continuation and pushed further, 4 hexes closer, then right now from this gun we've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They'd be 4. So you can hit them much harder at a range of 4 than you can at a range of 8. Just to take a look here, and I can show you this. At a range of 8, it's a -2, but at a range of 4, it's a 0. So you increase your chances of hitting because, again, when you're subtracting 2, you're pushing it towards the miss, and you're making it less effective. Whereas if you roll a 9 with no modifier, then you get a formation hit and a morale check, which is the most damage you can do with your artillery. So that was a little bit lengthy of an explanation, but I felt like for people who have not played this game before, it might be good to realize the mindset maybe that you should try to be in with this, and try and think in terms of almost like Ancients, where you want to push up and get into close combat. The main difference here is you close up and then you can fire at the opponent and then have close combat. Whereas in World War II, you're firing at the opponent to make them put their heads down, and then you're flanking them with another force and hitting them from multiple sides and maybe finishing them off via assault. So it's a complete, warfare has evolved, of course, so that everybody I'm sure that's watching knows that type of thing. I'm just trying to explain my thinking there, because people may wonder, well, why didn't you just fire your artillery? That's why. And they will, of course, have a chance to fire their artillery at them in the next turn, in their turn anyway, during their activation. Okay, so center is done. Let's talk about the right wing here. Now here we have an interesting situation, because we have these guys here are cavalry. These are light infantry. We have a unit back here that is formation shaken. You can see the FS on there, right, which halves their movement, but that's a cavalry unit with a typical movement allowance of 8, so that would only reduce it to a 4. Okay, so they are also under make ready orders. So what I'd like to do first is just accept the fact that this guy is formation shaken, and try to live with that for now, and go back to a charge order here. So again, as we did before, we would have to do an order change, and you have an order change table on your play aid, right? So our die roll modifier, you can see here, -1 for a cavalry wing changing to charge. This is a cavalry wing. That's hard to say, by the way. Cavalry wing. I want to say cavalry wing. Anyway, so we're at make ready. So we're here, make ready. We want to change the charge. It's a 0 to 5, but we're going to get a -1. So let's roll here on this. Put it, I don't like to put it on top of counters, and I'm barely not doing that here. And it's a 4. So that is successful. And now I'll change their order from make ready, which is what I have here in my hand, to charge on the off-screen Edgehill playmat or track mat or whatever you want to call it. Scenario card. Anyway, so this guy is going to stay formation shaken. Now, what I could have done is left them in their make ready, move these guys up, which I'm going to do anyway, but I could have moved him to be adjacent to Rupert, and then Rupert would have been able to reform him. But everybody else would have to suffer with reduced combat effectiveness as well. So I want maximum combat effectiveness. So we have successfully changed our order, and now we can press on and actually bring our forces to bear on these units right here, who are light infantry. Okay, so we're going to hit this light infantry with our cavalry. Now these are musketeers. They're upside down, but that is what they are. They are musketeers, as you can see right here. Right? So he was here. Yes. Okay. So we're going to activate all of these guys and push forward, basically. One other thing to mention before I actually start moving units is interception by their cavalry line, who's back here. Once that you have to be within 4 hexes to trigger interception as a reaction. So if we look 1, 2, 3, 4, as soon as we move these guys up this 1 hex, they're going to be within 4, which can trigger reaction attempts by this line of cavalry here. And they can attempt to move through, to move up and intercept. So we'll talk about that when it happens here, because it seems like something that they would do, right? Because these guys have the ability. Well, these 3 here. This one they can do it with too, but he's inside the hedge here, which is going to provide him a little bit of a defensive advantage anyway. But these 3, once they move up, they'll be able to use pistol fire because they're equipped with pistols. So they can move up and fire. And then the momentum, I think, if I remember correctly, we can use momentum to then do the close combat phase at the end. So these guys would be best served by trying to break up that charge so that they can actually slow them down or damage them before they can actually complete their attack on this line of skirmishers, essentially musketeers. Because if they can collapse this group and then get, do something with this group, then that unlocks the whole left side here of the parliamentary army. And that's what happened historically. Both cavalry wings, and the left rather is over here. You can see part of it. They broke both cavalry wings of the parliamentary, and the heavy infantry moved up, and the royalists won this battle. It ended up being not really a strategic victory because the King Charles I, did not follow up on his victory. All right, so let's move Maurice here, and we're going to move him. We're going to go 1, 2, okay? And now this musketeer is in his forward facing here, his 2 frontal hexes, right? Frontal. This guy's in his flank, but he's also facing this way. So if he were to turn, he could turn. Now they can do reaction as well. Okay, so I have a correction to make here. This green line here, as you may have already deduced, is a hedge. Hedges block line of sight. So if Maurice were to move, he would probably not be moving up here on these musketeers unless he was going here, right? Which he could. But maybe he'd be more likely to go this way to engage the enemy cavalry or the artillery. And we also have their commander right there as well. So it may be more sensible to have Maurice and the two Byrons move this way and try to engage these guys, and then have these light infantry engage up here, engage the enemy musketeers. Another thing that I did not mention is if you look at the counter here for this musketeer unit, you can see the red 4 there, the red box with the 4 in it. That's their morale, and a 4 is pretty low. So they would be more likely to end up getting broken and having to retreat. So let's say that we're going to take Maurice and he's going to go 1. Okay, now they can reaction fire as soon as he moves. So they will, because there's no reason not to. Right? So they can do reaction fire. Now reaction fire, if it moves within grazing fire range. The grazing fire range for that unit is 3, and look, 1, 2, 3. So now they can fire at him because he's in grazing fire range. He's also in their frontal arc, which goes out this way, right? It stretches out like that, as you might expect. So on our fire table, we look at the range chart here. It's 3, right? These are 3-pounders, so they're the small falcons, right? Range of 3, there's no adjustment. Okay, so now over here on the 3-pounder side, you can see anything under a 6 or less is going to be a miss, and then 7, 8, or 9. It's not possible to get a 10 because he does not have any firepower roll modifiers rather. The target's not in a hedgehog or column. The artillery is not morale shaken, which is a negative, and then the range we already accounted for. So the most he can do is a formation hit, but that's worthwhile. So we're going to roll for that. So I will actually just hold it this time. Make this easy instead of putting it down. And he got a 1, which is very low and is a miss. So we're going to flip him to fired. And they can now continue their attack. So that was 1, 2. Now here we got another artillery unit. And as you can see, his arc does not, his front firing arc does not, I keep hitting that because it's the corner and that's where my finger is, but it does not go through there. It does reach out here to the King's Legion right here, but, or King's Light Guard, that may be, I'm not sure. King's LG. Anyway, that unit can't fire at him. So now we can move 1 more and still stay out of the artillery range here. So we will move 1 more. So that is now 1, 2, 3. Now he's adjacent to the artillery unit that has fired. Now at this point, let's have interception. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to back him up 1, and we're going to attempt interception here by this guy here, Goodwin. So he's going to roll. You have to roll first to see if your interception will be successful. And we have an interception table. Right, so here's our interception table. Now they are in receive charge mode, so they would need a 0 to 3. Their morale's not 8. Their morale is a 6, so they're going to get a +1 on their die roll because it is a 6, and they're not. This doesn't apply, and this one is because we're not playing NGBG. This is, he's not stacked with the leader, so basically needs a 0, 1, or 0, 1, or 2. So he got a 1, so it's successful. Okay, so that means he moves out now, right? And now, I guess he would actually be facing this way to attack Maurice. So our cavalry unit, Maurice, can now reaction fire. So he's reacting, and then he's reacting back to the reaction, basically. He can now fire with his pistols at Goodwin. And so we do have a light infantry and cavalry fire table here, right? So we're looking for, here's cavalry pistol fire. And less than or equal to a 6 is a miss. And then you have one hit on a 7, 8, or 9. And then the firer, your die roll modifier, that's not applicable. That's not applicable. I don't think this is applicable. And that's not, and neither is that, of course. The defender, none of those apply. Cavalry, +1 for each strength point over 3. Their strength points are 2. And so they get a -1 for being a 2. So they basically need a 9 or an 8 to hit. So it's unlikely that this will be successful, but we will roll the die. And we got a 5. So not successful. So now we have close combat. So this will be our first chance at seeing close combat. So you have, and again, this reminds me somewhat of the Great Battles of History series, where you have a matrix based with your defender and your attacker. Here on our close combat matrix, the attacker and defender are both cuirassier, so there is no adjustment for that. So we're just going to go to the close combat table, and you can see the rolls here, and you have everything from morale to elimination, and then your die roll modifier. So we don't have any leaders. The morale differential is Goodwin is a 4. Maurice is only a 2. So we're going to subtract 2. We don't have anything from the matrix. We just looked at that. The defending cavalry expends a pistol shot. They could, as well as they could. So if we say they both do, I'm not playing with the optional rule that leaves the royalist cavalry with just 1 pistol shot. We'll give them the 2. So they'll each fire, but the defending cavalry will still have 1. And for each flank, so that's not applicable because they're both frontal hexes for both. So we have a total of -2. The strength ratio is 8. No, I'm sorry. I was looking at this at the morale differential is actually 8 to 6. So that's a +2 for the morale differential, and the strength ratio is 1 to 2. So that's a -1. So we're going to get a +1 on our die roll. So we're going to roll here, and we get a 0, which is a really, really bad roll. And what that gives you is attacker morale broken. Attacker retreat 2 hexes. Defender may advance into vacated hex. Check for cavalry pursuit. So he's going to get a broken marker, and that is this. So this is going to go on top here, and he will retreat 2 hexes, 1, 2, and we will check for pursuit. So here's our pursuit table. So they're not going to get that. Pursuing cavalry unit used momentum, no. Pursuing cavalry unit is unformed, no. Pursuit is unformed. I don't think so. Cromwell, this is this game, but Cromwell is not stacked with. He's not in this scenario. So I don't think there are any DRMs here. So basically here we have our own column for this Accursed Civil War, which is what we're playing. 2 or less, break off. 3 to 5, pursue and eliminate. Mark pursuer as formation broken. 6+, pursue off map and eliminate. Okay, so we'll roll here. And we got a 5, which I think is pursue and eliminate, and it is. Pursue and eliminate, mark pursuer as formation broken. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to move Goodwin here, and it's going to eliminate this unit, so they are removed from the game. Now we'll put them in the eliminated unit box. That is not good. They get a formation broken. So now we have the ability to react to that, but with one of our units. But what I think I'll do is I'm actually going to leave it, because I'm going to continue my activation with Byron here. And we're going to go 1, 2. Now here, he could react. So he's going to attempt an interception. And again, we're going to be looking at the interception table. They are on a receive charge order, and we know that they need their morale is a 6, so they need a 2 or less. So we will roll here, and we got an 8. So that is an unsuccessful, and they get an interception done. And actually, this guy also gets an interception done. All right, so they can continue. So he's going to go here, and then he's going to fire his pistol, I think. Let me check this, see if I need to fire at the artillery or if I can simply overrun it. Okay, so all I have to do is advance here, and that's going to eliminate that unit. All right. And then here, what we're going to do is we're going to advance into this hex, but we're going to do pistol fire first. So as we saw a moment ago, we have our pistol cavalry fire here. So we're going to need, let's see. So we do not have any of this stuff. No formation or open order, no shaken or broken, no open order. We're not advancing or retreating. Actually, this might be advancing fire, in which case I should not even bother with it rather. And their strength point is, yeah, so you know what? I'm not even going to fire at them. They can fire at me, however, if they wish to. So they will fire at me in reaction fire, I guess. And we'll do this, and they'll need a 7, 8, or 9. So let's roll for that. And they got an 8. 8 seems to be a popular number. So when you roll an 8, they get a 1 casualty. So we put a casualty marker on there, which is this guy right here. We're going to put that on Byron. And then they're going to do close combat on him in the once we get to that step. We're not at that step yet, because we have to do perform actions here, and we just did movement. And so now we're going to do continue our movement rather. And we're going to take this Byron right here, and let's see if we can break these musketeers. So we'll move here. No, actually we'll move here. We'll move there, and we'll do pistol fire. Actually, no, we'll hold off and do a charge. So they can do reaction fire, and they cannot because they're in the hedge. But these guys can. So they are light infantry, which is the same table. So these are muskets, right? So they need an 8 or a 9, and they don't have any modifiers except for their strength point, which is a 4. So they get a +1 on their roll. So they get a +1 on their roll. And they get a 4, which becomes a 5, which is nothing. That is a miss. Now we have Usher here. He'll move up here. They can do reaction fire as well. And so again, we're going to roll on this table right here. Their strength is a 4, as I mentioned. So they will get a +1. And they got a 9, which actually becomes a 10. And that is 1 hit. So they also added 1 hit to the unit here. So they get a 1 as well. And then we'll move this guy up. Now we're going to take Rupert here. And we're going to move him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they're going to attack that guy. Now, they can do reaction fire even though they did attempt an interception. They can't intercept again. Now, they could have, I think, but I don't know that they would have wanted to necessarily. They could have ended up in a bad situation there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have them fire. So we know from previous firings that we basically have their strength points are 4. So they get a +1. And they get a 9 as well. So they inflict another hit here. So our cavalry is taking a bit of a beating here. All right, now we have our last ones. This guy's movement allowance is halved. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he'll move there. And then these guys, the King's Legion, they're going to go 1, 2. Actually, no. They were here, right? No, they were here. 1, 2, 3. I didn't mention this because I mentioned it in part 1, but this creek is for aesthetic purposes only. It has no impact. 4, 5. Now they are in the range here. So 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. They're going to go 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to say that they were holding off on firing until they came closer, but because he went this way, that moved him out of his arc and allowed him to get up there. Okay, so they can do reaction fire, so why not, right? It's worked out very well for them so far. So we'll try it one more time, and they got a 9 again. Holy mackerel. All right, so it's a lot of casualties there, but now all the movement is done, so we're going to move on to close combat. So I'll start here, right? So we have close combat, and we have basically light infantry attacking light infantry. So we have light infantry against light infantry, and it's a 0, as you might expect. So then we come over here, and we're going to have for modifiers, they don't have a leader, neither side. The morale differential favors the Royalists by 2, which we already knew. So they get a +2. Strength ratio is 1 and 2. So that's also 2 to 1 in favor of the attacker. So that gives them a +1. So they're at +3 now. Close combat matrix is a 0. They're not offending cavalry. No cavalry there. Okay, so they get a +3. So we will roll our blue die for this guy. And we got a 1. A 1 plus a +3 is 4. So attacker morale shaken, attacker retreat 1 hex, defender cannot advance. All right, so he's going to retreat through the hedge because he can. You don't count movement costs there. And we're going to flip him to his shaken side. They can't advance, however. Now we have our cavalry who's attacking this one. So we have Cuirassier attacking light infantry NA. I did that incorrectly. Our attacker is Cuirassier, and the defender is light infantry. So they get a +2. Plus they have a 2-to-1 advantage in, they got a +3 in morale, so that gives them a +5. And they get a 2-to-1, that'll give them another +1. So they're at +6. So they're at +6. This is probably not going to be good for the defender here. And if even rolling a 0, that becomes a 6. And a 6, defender morale shaken, defender retreat 2 hexes, attacker must advance into vacated hex. So he's going to retreat 2 hexes, 1, 2, and be shaken. And he has to advance. And they're done. They're done. All right, so let's start with this guy right here, Rupert. So he is attacking, and he's got a 5 size and an 8 morale. And he's got a 3, 6. And he's also cavalry. So it's cuirassier on cuirassier, which is a 0. Let's see. For any attacking plus or minus. So they get a -1, I guess, from, -2 from their leader. Plus or -1 for any attacking defending leader. Oh, okay, so they get a +1 for the leader. And we'll have to check for leader casualty. The morale differential was 8 to 4, so that's a +4, so they're at +5. Strength ratio is 5 to 3. That's, I guess, 1 to 1. I don't think we, I don't think we do anything with that. I think that's just a 1 to 1. So they're getting a +5 here on their roll. And we'll see if they can roll better than a freaking 0 here. They rolled a 6. So 6 plus 5 is 11. And greater than 9, defender eliminated. Attacker must advance into the vacated hex. Check for cavalry pursuit. If the defender's eliminated, I'm not sure how you can have cavalry pursuit. But we're going to move these guys up here. Anyway. And we have another victim for the eliminated box. And now we'll do close combat over here with the King's Legion. They're a 2-8, and Byron is a 2-7. So we'll have the 2-8 attack Ramsey, because he's going to give them a -1, and they're a 3-6. So they're going to have the advantage in strength, but it's still 3 to 2, so that's going to be a 1 to 1. Morale still favors them, 8 to 6, so they'll get a +2 there. So that's a +2 -1 is a +1, and the strength differential is a wash. So this is pretty easy. This is just going to be a +1, and we're going to roll, and we got a 9. It's hard to see because it's not focusing, but come on. There we go. It's a 9. All right, so 9 plus means defender eliminated. So that eliminates the leader as well, I believe. I'll have to check that, but I thought I read that if the unit with the leader is eliminated, the leader is as well, but I will confirm that. These guys are going to move up. Now let me confirm about the leader, Ramsey, here. Yes, it says if the leader is stacked with a unit which is eliminated, the leader is automatically removed. So he is a casualty as well. So they've now lost 2 cavalry, an artillery, and 1 of their leaders. And that the result of that is it puts all of their units, the entire left wing, out of command. And we had, that was it. This guy was going to attack as well, but now his attack has been removed as not necessary. So I will flip. Actually, we can roll for continuation. So let's roll for continuation. And rolling for continuation, we have a charge order. So it's a 0 to 3, and we get a -2 for our leadership rating. So let's roll it. We got a 6 minus 2 is a 4, so that fails. So we'll flip Rupert to finished. And that ends there. Actually, this should go on the unit, not on the leader. That finishes the right wing's activation. And this guy is here. He's here, and he retreated to there. So they're kind of in a tough spot now. Although I do think that we have some units that are out of command now. Because I think cavalry can only go 3. 1, 2, 3. So they're stuck. These guys are kind of stuck here. Although 1, 2, 3. Yeah, these guys are all out of command now. So things got a little wild there. All right, so what we'll do now is move over to the left wing. Okay, so the left wing has, they all have charge orders. So they're going to move, we're going to move Rupert here. And now they'll do reaction fire. So this is light infantry on light infantry. So there will be, so these are, so we roll and yeah, we don't get any strength point. There are 2, so they're going to get a -1. They're going to get a -1. So let's roll for the -1, with the -1 rather. I got a 9. These guys can't roll anything that's not a 9, and I rolled the wrong die for them, by the way. I've been rolling the red die for the parliamentarians. So they get a -1, and he's going to move here. Now we can have our cavalry here do reaction. They can react, and so could they. For interception, I mean. So let's try an interception here. So on our interception table, they have a received charge, so they get a 0 to 3 to successfully do it. Their morale is a 4. So they don't get anything from that, and they don't have the leader with them. So they need a 0, 1, 2, or 3. This time we'll use the correct die. They rolled a 0. So they did intercept. So they will move up here. Now they will do close combat. So again, I know what this is already because we just saw it a minute ago. Cuirassier on light infantry is a +2. Okay, now in terms of the other stuff, they have the advantage in morale by 1, and they have a 2 to 1, and so they're going to get a +3. So they're going to get a +3 here on their die roll. And they got a 3. So a 3 plus 3 is 6, and a 6 is defender morale shaken. Retreat 2 hexes. So they're going to get shaken and retreat 2 hexes, and they have to advance. Okay. And so because they advanced, well, Wilmot in theory could reaction fire, but it's a pistol. I don't know that it's worth it, so we're not going to bother. All right. Now we'll have Wilmot here. Oh, we got to put a interception done on this guy. And then this one's going to move. Oh, they only have to move 1 into the vacated hex. It does not say to check for cavalry pursuit. All right. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. These guys are even up, man. And we won't do pistol fire. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, when he was here, we'll have this cannon fire at him. So the range is 3. That is a 3-pounder there. So range chart, 3-pounder, 3 hexes, 0. Now we'll roll. And we got a 2. And a 2 is nothing. That's a miss. So they are fired. Now this one could have fired on these 2, but didn't. Well, let's leave that be. Okay, so now he can move. He started here, I think. 1, 2. Doesn't really matter because he's going to go 3, 4. Remove him, go here, 5. Now we're going to draw reaction fire again from these 2. And these are heavy infantry, so this is a little different. This is the first time we're seeing heavy infantry. So heavy infantry musketry tables. They can fire into their flank, I believe. So having belatedly realized that I had kind of moved beyond what was in the camera shot, I fixed that now. So we have these guys here. They have 3 units that can do reaction fire against them, so they're going to do so. So we'll start with Meldrum here. Now, this is heavy infantry, so this is musketry. So they are firing into the flank, okay? So that's a little bit different. And they get a -1 on the die roll because the cavalry is moving. So basically what they need here is greater than a 4. And they got a 3, which becomes a 4. No, it becomes a 2, I'm sorry. So that's a miss. Okay, now we'll do this guy right here. It's the same thing. He gets a 9. So a 9 becomes, basically that's 2 hits. 2 hits. That's pretty solid, man. So they take a 2-hitter there. And now this guy will try it as well. Let's see what we get. And we got another 3. And another 3 means another miss. So not as bad as it could have been. Now we're going to try, I'm going to do this again. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go after fielding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, they could reaction fire, but it's pistol fire. Probably would not be effective. So we're going to not bother with it. And I forgot to mark the one of the units here that was this guy actually that used both of their shots. So they would, I know it's off camera. I sometimes forget you can't see the whole board even though I can. So we're going to go here by going around this guy to avoid drawing reaction fire from that heavy infantry unit. Now we will have to draw it from fielding, however. That's cavalry, so that's good. That's good. All right. So he can do interception if he wanted. So why not? Let's try it. So let's try an interception here. So again, interception with a received charge order needs a 0 to 3. And they get his initiative's a 0, so they don't get any benefit or negative on that. It's a 9. The 9 is too high, so that is not successful. And they get a interception done on there. Okay, and now on the next phase, they will be able to attack. So let's see here. Let's use these guys here to go 1, 2, and we're going to attack him. He already intercepted, so he can't intercept again. Now our leader is here, Wilmot. So 1, 2, 3, that's good. 1, 2, 3, that's good. And I would extend to this guy and even this guy, but he's going to move up. 1, 2, 3. So we can try to hit Meldrum. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go right there. All right. So now we're going to draw again. Fire here from the heavy infantry, and we rolled a 9. And with a -1, that becomes an 8. Oh, actually, I just realized that this should have been a 1, not a 2. It should be a 1. Because of the -1 from moving. So even with a 9, it's a -1, not a +1. And so we get -1 and a -1 here. So he also gets 1 hit, 1 casualty. All right. So the Royalists are taking their lumps. But they have eliminated 4 units and a leader on the parliamentarian side. So now that's all the movement. So let's resolve our close combats here. So we have cavalry on cavalry. I'm just going to remove that. And so we have close combat between cavalry and cavalry, which is a 0, of course. So we now look at the numbers here. It's 2-7 versus 4-7. So the morale's a wash. The size is a 2-to-1, so they get a +1 for that, and which is actually a -1. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so it's a -1 on the die roll, and it's a 0, which means attacker eliminated. So Digby is out of there, and they can advance and check for cavalry pursuit, but there isn't any. So there you have it. Now we could try close combat, but they could only, actually they can't, because skirmishers, light infantry, they can only close combat other light infantry. So he's going to attack this guy who is in clear terrain. He's not in the woods. So we'll attack this one. Now their morale is a 2. That's a wash. I'm sorry. Strength is 2. So strength is identical. Morale is identical. So they get nothing there. The combat matrix will also be identical because it's light infantry on light infantry. And so we've got no modifiers at all. So this is just a straight roll. And I should use the blue die. And look at that. Look at that. And we go to an extreme, apparently. So this guy's now eliminated as well. And they advance. Okay, well, things are not going swimmingly here, are they? Well, now let's do Wilmot against Essex. So it's 4-7 there and 4-7 here. That's a wash. They get a -1 for their leader. And that's the only modifier because they're tied otherwise. So let's roll here. 7. Oh wait, that's a they get a +1 for that, for the leader. So that would become an 8, which is 7 or 8 is actually the same thing. Defender morale broken. Defender retreats 2 hexes. Attacker must advance into vacated hex, and then we check for pursuit. So he has to retreat 2. So he'll go, I guess he has to go 1, 2, because he wouldn't want to go next to another infantry, and he gets a morale broken as well. I thought I had one of those sitting around here. Yeah, I do. There it is. All right, so his morale is broken. Now we'll roll for cavalry pursuit. So we have this here again. So we get a +1 for being under a charge order. We didn't use momentum, but we should have. So I'll give them a +2 there. And then that's all that matters. So we need basically a 1 or higher is going to result in them pursuing. And if it gets too high, then they're going to run off map, which we don't want. We got a 3, which becomes a 5. And a 5 is they pursue here, and these guys are eliminated. And they become morale broken, I think. Or is it formation broken? It is, yes, formation broken. So their morale is still good. These guys are eliminated. That goes back there. Eliminated another cavalry unit from the enemy, from the parliamentarians. They get a formation broken. And that will do here. So we have our cavalry. They're a 3-7 taking on a 4-6. So the size is a wash. 4-3 is still 1-to-1. 7 minus 6 is 1. So they're going to get a 1 modifier there. He does not give them anything. So they're going to get a +1 on their die roll here. Now we have cavalry on cavalry. Yes, it's cavalry on cavalry, so we don't get any modifiers from that. And we're just going to roll. We get a +1 on our die roll. And we rolled a 7, which becomes an 8. And an 8, again, is defender morale broken. Defender retreats 2. 1, 2. They move up, right? They have to advance. Yes, must advance. And we check again for the pursuit. So we do the same thing we just did. And we got a 1. And a 1 plus 2 becomes 3. And a 3 is pursue and eliminate. And they get a formation broken. So they've lost another leader. Fielding and Ramsey, both wing commanders have been eliminated. And he was here. And he becomes formation broken. All right, and now we have just 2 left, so we'll do this one right here. So it's a 2-7 against a 7-6. So the strength, this is going to be ugly. So the morale gives them a -1, but the size, or gives them a +1 rather, but the size is a 3-to-1 ratio. And a 3-to-1 ratio is, it's not 4-to-1, it's just a 2-to-1, I guess. So that gives them a +1. So that's a wash. Terrain-wise, this does not have any effect because it's a gentle slope. And we'll have them fire their pistols, so that's a +1. So we get a +1 on our die roll, basically. So we're going to get a +1 on the die. Well, actually, wait a minute. It should be 4-to-1 because... Yeah, so it's going to be a wash because they're actually a strength of 1. They're actually a strength of 1. So there's no die roll modifier. Got a 6. So a 6 is defender morale shaken, must retreat 2 hexes. And so he's going to go 1, 2. And is shaken. And then he advances up here. Now we'll do this guy on here. Same thing. Same exact thing, no modifier, gets a 5. And a 5 is defender morale shaken, defender retreat 1 hex. So he gets shaken and backs up 1 hex. And they don't advance. And that completes the royalist turn. And what I'm going to do here is stop the video. And I think at this point it's likely that the parliamentarians might have elected to retreat because they lost 2 of their 3 wing leaders. They do get a replacement. They would be colonels. But I guess what I'm really saying is I'm not going to do any more video for this scenario. I would like to try Sweden fights on. And that would be in a separate video series, perhaps, a little bit later in the month, perhaps next month. But for now, I'm going to wrap this up. So that is going to do it. This took longer than I thought, but you did get to see a lot of action. And I hope I did it right. I'm not 100% sure I didn't mess something up. I probably did. But if you do know, feel free to post it as a comment so that everybody can read and see what was mistaken and know for their own play. But yeah, any comments, questions, etc., feel free to post them. I will do my best to reply. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing if you are already a subscriber. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support, but that's going to do it for now. I'm Joe. This is Hexed Encountered, and until next time, happy gaming.